Happy last week of February, one of the most wonderful weeks on the calendar. We are at Roosters. It's a fun, casual joint. Justin Zwick, Bobby Carpenter, Nicole Cox. They're all going on the Cruise for Cancer. Buckeye Cruise for Cancer.
Yes, it's a good week.
They circle this on the calendar all year, and I do too, because Friday, it's my birthday. So we all have so much to celebrate.
Jeez.
Austin.
I know.
What birthday is this for you?
Oh, man.
23.
23.
Yeah.
I thought it was somewhere around there.
It's pretty
delightful.
close. No, 42, Jason.
The old 42.
Yeah,
Oh,
42.
you beat me, I think.
You know, I'm at the point where you have to think about it.
That's what I just said, that you beat me to 42, and I'm like, am I 42
Is that
already?
right? Yeah.
Like, I'm not sure.
We're at that age.
Liberty
Yeah.
said that to me the other day. She's like, I can't believe you're turning 42. And I'm like, is that right? I don't know. But I guess
Because it just doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah. But
It's just a number.
I know, Nicole, this is a year or a week, a trip that's near and dear to your heart.
It is.
You guys are leaving on Wednesday?
We leave Thursday morning.
Yeah.
I think super
Thursday.
early flight. And,
super
Not that early. It's like
Not
9:30.
Bob
Really,
has been up
mine
for
is.
like 6
I
hours.
thought ours was at 6 a.m.
No, mine's at 9:30.
Mine's at 9:30.
Oh, shoot. Well, then I got to check that.
Yes.
Maybe I'm with you guys. But regardless, every year it's just so sad. Like, cancer touches all of us in the sense of there are just so many cruisers that have been on there for years that have been diagnosed in the past year. So it's just extra special. It's just a reminder of, like, this is what's important in life, to be there and for a great cause, raising lots of money for the fight against cancer. So
JZ, how many is this for you?
Golly, I've been on every one but 2. I didn't go the very first year, and then year 11 I didn't go. So I don't even know, are they on 18?
yes,
yeah,
it's
Is
so-
this 18? Is this 18?
So I've been on
Almost
16
positive.
of them, and I mean, it's just been amazing to see it grow throughout the years. I mean, I remember back in the first couple of years, that's probably how I got on it, because they're just trying to find dudes to fill that role, and we were just graduated. But to just watch and see how it's grown, what the thing they started doing, I don't know, 5-6 years ago, maybe even longer, but the night we all kind of get introduced and they bring survivors up on the stage.
Yeah,
and that's,
Survivor. Hell, that's been a decade now.
well, fair, but I
Yeah.
mean, that really was a special deal. All the athletes are on stage, and anybody who's survived cancer comes up, and it does really just put things into perspective for you. And every year we get to look forward to it. We get to go raise a bunch of money, have a lot of fun doing it with Buckeye Nation, and it's just a great deal. And we get to celebrate a national championship this year. So I mean,
Yes.
it's the national
So it's
championship
extra special.
version this year. So
We had one of those in 2015.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
now 10 years later in
how
2025.
about that? Yeah.
People are extra generous when you've cashed in the national championship.
Well,
chip.
there's a buzz and an
There's a buzz.
excitement
Yeah, exactly.
around it that just, maybe isn't there quite normally. So that's
Like last year
Was it-
after
was it
the
angsty
Missouri
on the boat
game, it
last
probably
year?
wasn't. There might have been a little bit.
All right.
Yeah, and there's, it was not.
We won't have any of that this year, I don't think.
No, it would be very positive. I'm sure that
Yes.
trophy will make its way onto the boat,
Yes,
and everybody
yes.
will be fired up and take pictures with it. We've been on 17. We missed, I think, year 6, if I'm not mistaken, the year my daughter was born. So she'll be 14 this year, 18. So I think that works out math-wise. Maybe 4th year. No, maybe it was the 4th year, I guess. I don't know. Court was born. She's born St. Patrick's Day, so it was kind of tight. We did sneak on there one year.
You did sneak on one year.
Cullen
Yeah, I
was
remember
born,
that.
Cullen was born on May 20th, and I mean she was well after the 20 week
Whatever
window.
the recommended
Yeah,
window.
I mean
is.
her nurse practitioner. It was our 3rd kid. Her nurse practitioner was on the boat. She's like, she'll be fine. Like if anything happens,
Yeah.
we'll be good.
There are a
So
bunch of doctors on the boat.
Yeah.
yeah, I mean I watched some girl one year.
I
try to roll
I
up
learned that
there.
on my trip.
Yeah, I watched some girl one year try to roll up like 33, 34. I mean she was like,
Not missing the.
yeah,
not
no, they
missing the
turned her
boat.
away.
Oh, did they?
Oh yeah, they turned her away.
Gosh.
I mean, Court like wasn't showing like crazy bad, and so like, oh yeah, it's no big deal. Yeah, I'm like 20 weeks, whatever. Made up some day in the future for birth, but it was good. All's well that ends well. So I'm excited about that. I was just thinking like, man, like 20 years is going to be coming up soon, and I don't even begin to wonder where my life is gone. I think it's pretty much
Wow.
over at this point. So
Oh, no.
What?
yeah, I
No.
mean. Nicole, there's very minimal things left. I was hoping it was 17, but if you're telling me
No.
it's 18, then I don't really know what else is.
We're almost
what
there.
else-
Bobby, they
No,
make it better
I've got
every year.
3
They don't
nice-
even need to.
I've
They
gotten
make it
3
better every
national.
year.
I've got to be a part of one and watch 2 other national championships. There were some people that lived and died and didn't even get the chance to see more than one. So
Let's remember that when people like our Buckeyes have given us 3 in our lifetime. So let's
3
remember
in the
that. That's how
century.
amazing they are.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, there's only 2 other schools that have done that with Alabama and LSU. So it's a pretty rare.
Let's always
club.
remember this stat. I think
Yeah.
it's an important
Well,
one.
that used to be the conversation, which is like, does Ohio State belong in that true historical powerhouse because of the lack of national championships compared to others? And you'd say, well, you go from the early 70s all the way to 30 plus years without one. It's like, that's not the expectation to win one every year. And now it's becoming like you got to do it at least every decade.
The standard is the standard.
Standard is the
Every
standard.
decade.
You got to do it every decade.
Nicole's happy about that standard. Let me tell you about the standard is the standard. I want to brag on the Roosters at Henderson Road here because it was awesome yesterday.
Aw. Okay, I'll let you talk about
I
that.
saw we saw Molly and we lost Nicole unfortunately to Dublin in the first round of our bracket play of
Sorry.
it's
I heard.
okay. It was a wild game. We were up, they were down 3. We hit a 3 to go to overtime. They hit a 3 in overtime to send it to
Yep.
double overtime. We ended up losing. Overtime, 1 minute, no timeouts. Milked the clock all the way down to 50 seconds.
Oh,
Foul call, 2 free
Right.
throws. That's
Sudden
that's-
death overtime.
basically. I mean, that's what it
Jeez,
was.
that's
It was
interesting.
so then you're like, hey, let's go to Roosters. And since Wendell and Tangie's closed, we're up at Buckeye Valley. It's like Sawmill Road. Hell, it's 11:30. Like, why don't we just drive? It'll be 30 minutes before we get to Henderson. Let's go to the one there. And so we walked in here, and I could pull up because we come here quite often on Mondays.
Sure do.
And I'm like, I could tell by the fullness of the parking lot that the store was going to be fairly full. And it was. We were on the other side, and they did a great job because we rolled in here with, there was already one of the younger teams kind of in here. We were in here. So like 10, 12 younger kids, couple siblings, probably another 15, 18 parents.
that's awesome.
They did a really good job and like trying to match bills and all that. I mean, I told them like, well, how do you want to do this? They're like, we'll just order, we'll get a check for them. They bring it to you.
Yep.
I'm like, all right, that sounds great. And we were in and out. Service was great. It was
Awesome.
excellent. Did a really
Thank
good job.
you.
So we
Thanks for
were-
coming here.
I mean, I feel bad for the people around us because we took like the middle aisle of stuff down there.
I feel like that's just Roosters.
just the
we
Roosters
love
vibe, right?
we love to be
Fun,
that
casual
place
joint.
because you after games. I mean, I'm in that phase of life. Like after games, you want to go out to dinner with the team and the kids, and we're used to that. Like we
Yeah.
like being that place for you to come
It's
to.
perfect. We watched the Lady Bucks score about 100 points.
Yeah, it was. I
I
mean, they could have
Yeah.
scored 100. They didn't.
mean, it was 90,
Dribbled out the
95
last minute or so. I think.
98 to freaking 40
Yeah.
or whatever. I'm like, well, that was fun, I guess, to watch, but food was great.
At least you didn't have to
Awesome
watch. At least you didn't have to watch the boys play. I watched that.
Didn't stick
I
around for that
watched
one.
it. Yeah,
Yeah.
we watched
I
it.
was at
That
Roosters on Sawmill watching that.
I watched that one.
That was
unfortunately.
rough.
Factory of Sadness.
Yes.
It was close. It was close.
Yeah, I mean, it was
was.
around that 6-7 point range in the entire
was
game.
down.
They
I-
did a great job.
yeah.
I just wanted to brag on
Yeah.
the
No,
Thank
for sure.
you.
because this isn't your biggest store, so when
Right.
we rolled up here with a lot of people and I saw a full parking lot, they did a great job
Thank
accommodating.
you. And they're used to it too. We have a lot of schools specifically around this location. So Waterson's close and UA obviously. So but thank you for saying that. I know they'll appreciate that.
Bob, the other thing that's changed over the years with the Buckeye Cruise for Cancer is the NIL opportunities, and you can be able
Current
you can bring
players.
The current players on.
Yes.
What's the roster looking like this week? Do you know?
Pretty good. It's pretty
Lincoln.
solid.
Yes, I know
Yeah.
that they were working on a couple of passports for some guys. Some guys.
The
The
old
thing is-
passport. You gotta have.
Well, you have to have that, but some of the guys, and I don't want to reveal like stuff, but there was, when you're under 18, they expire every 5, not every 10.
Oh, good.
So
to
like
know.
there were guys like, oh crap, like they didn't realize that they were
Mm.
expired with that. So I know that they are working. I go, listen, the vice president of the United States of America is a Buckeye.
yeah,
So
let's
can we not-
Get him
can
on
we-
the horn.
Like,
Yeah,
figure it
hit
out.
him up on
get 'em
Twitter.
over
Let's
there.
figure this out.
Get it done, figure it out. So I think that they're going to get that done. But what is exciting is, so the first group of guys that we had come through was a fun class of Emeka, Steele, Tommy, and Cade.
Yep.
And I want to say our guy Steele is going to be coming back. So he'll be the first guy of that group
Of the
that
new wave?
that came as players.
Mhm.
And then the second year, like you can't come that same. You got literally the
Yeah.
combine
Yeah.
is this week.
Yeah.
So they won't be able to do that. And then so you've got another year. And so Emeka, or not Emeka, but Steele will be that first group of guys that will be coming back. So pretty excited. But outside of that, I think it's the usual. Like it's kind of a reward. I think the Styles brothers will be there. I think those are 2 of the guys. But like guys that have been here 4 years, you're in your 4th year. Like this is part of it. You do things the right way. You take care of business. Buckeye Cruise is the reward of being able to go there and network.
Who was
and
the other
stuff.
one that came the first year? He with all the knee injuries. I can't think of his name right now. He works for the university.
Cam Babb.
Cam Babb.
He was awesome.
Yeah.
Now I got that. I was at the airport with those guys. I flew in because they only came half the time that first year.
So when you left,
And he had no idea who I told the guys at the cruise, like, I'll wrangle them together and do what I can. And like he's like, so like you work for the cruise? It's like,
well,
no,
yes,
well, in a way, I guess, yeah. But it was so funny. But they were awesome guys, and it's exciting to see. I mean, there was supposed to be 6 or 7 of them.
I think there are. I think
so if they all
the
get
I think
on
last
there,
year
I
it
mean,
doubled up to like 8 guys went, right? So
the first year the guys brought some lady friends, which was awesome. Like if you would have told me in college that I would have had a wonderful cruise going to St. Bart's and St. Kitts, and I could have utilized that as some bait, to help amplify, you got what's going on, you got on the brothers, Jay-Z, you're hanging out.
Yeah.
What do you got going on?
Hey, I got a cruise coming up
next
here
month.
in another month.
Yeah,
what
next
are you
month.
doing? You want to go get some sunshine?
Yeah,
There's so many things I can say right now.
I've
I'm not. I just
100%.
want everybody to know
I mean,
that.
even if it was just
it's a
Courtney,
fun, casual conversation, Nicole.
It
You can do
is.
that.
Yeah.
But I mean, that would have been like, this is what you have to
yeah.
offer someone. Like, that's great.
Yeah.
Even to, I started dating Courtney when I was a sophomore just to go on vacation with her. Come on.
And you somehow succeeded without the cruise. You didn't
I
even
don't
need
know how.
it.
So, well, that's even.
That's true.
We had to grind much harder back in the day.
It was. You had to utilize your
We
talents.
didn't have.
You had to.
Things that didn't take
Ooh.
talent. You had to work hard.
You did.
Tell some funny jokes, Nicole.
And make them laugh. That's right.
Mesmerize them with charm and
It
wit.
wasn't just go on a cruise. It was, you had to use your personality.
Now you can pick them up in a Ferrari and take them to a cruise.
Yeah.
All right, I can tell Nicole wants to talk about football at this point. So the other great thing about the last week of February is a all expenses paid trip to Indianapolis for some people to go to the NFL Combine. The Buckeyes have 15 players, the highest total in the country, going to the Combine. Nicole, job interview. This is that compressed. They only have a month to get ready for this, so I don't know how many are going to actually work out. But this
I don't
is.
think
I know
many
that
of the guys are.
Yeah, I don't
from
think they
what
will either. And Ohio State also pushed back their pro day, so I don't think we have to worry about a ton of 40 times. But
Why wouldn't they work out?
so
So
We
here's
only
the-
had so much downtime
So
since
there's
the season.
so think about this. Like there are guys who, if they opted out of their bowl game, their last game was the first weekend in December. So if they were injured, to train, so you have December, January, most of February to get that done. Whereas the guys at Ohio State played 4 more games and then got done January 20, a month ago.
literally
Yeah.
a month ago.
Yeah.
So like if you had an ankle injury and maybe it wasn't serious,
Or you're
but
just banged up and you just had to take some time to let your body heal, and then all of a sudden you just start working out again to get back into
But you will
the best
start
shape
like
of your life.
prepping for it,
They're
right?
Oh, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, but like there's a process. Usually you go like 6 to 8 weeks to kind of get ready.
Yeah.
And then that doesn't really include like getting healthy beforehand after those extra games.
Mhm.
So they'll go there, they'll have the meetings, they'll go through the medical.
Which is the most important part,
Yeah.
really, anyways.
and then
right?
they'll wait till I think it's March 13th.
I think it's later than that, because normally they do it during spring break. I was told they were going to push it back to like later in March.
Okay. Because I know Ohio State spring break ends March 17th. St. Patty's Day is their first day back from spring break. Maybe
It's
it is that
early.
week. Maybe it's the 20th or something that they'll be able to have that. And so that'll be a win, obviously, right there. But ours used to be later as well.
Yeah.
And I know they like to get it wrapped up and done. But when you have those late games, you
Yeah.
have to give these guys the appropriate time to be able to prepare.
I agree. I mean, I just feel like I felt, the national championship game was so late, and then I don't know. I just feel like they deserve to have that time because you don't want anything that's going to interfere with your chances of getting into the NFL.
Yeah, and a lot of those guys, as Bob's talking about, just getting healthy, they go to Florida or Arizona for these speed coaches to work solely on technique, so you can run the lowest, best 40 time you possibly can. For Ohio State guys, they not only did the season last, but then virtually all of them stuck around through Sunday to enjoy their celebration, go to the horseshoe, do that. Like Emeka, Cody Simon, they left the day after that. So they've had a compressed schedule for preparation, even when it comes to those workouts. So I don't know. I'll be surprised if more than a handful actually participate in bench press, vertical leap. We know the guys that would test well, and they'll just do that, I think, at the Woody. And you've seen, even when a year ago, like Marvin Harrison or other guys, a lot of Ohio State players have opted out of those workouts because they're starting to see limited value in participating there in Indianapolis. You meet, talk to the teams, go through your medical stuff, and that, as Jay-Z said, is pretty much where you're going to get the value for Ohio State anyway.
Yeah, I mean the film that they put out there all year long is what it is, and if you're able to go in there and nail the meetings and check out on as far as the physical stuff goes, I mean they know you're athletic, so they understand, and I feel like it's kind of going that way with a lot of guys. Even if you were done at the end of November, do you really need to? Now some quarterbacks may say I'm going to go throw because maybe I'm a little underrated and I'm going to go be a guy and throw at the combine, but quarterbacks like to have their own routine and do it at their pro day. They have more time to work out with their receivers and really get that plan nailed down. And you know who you're throwing to, but more power to them. They've been gone. They've been done a month. I mean that's not enough time to get ready for the biggest job interview of your life.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, the argument for working out the combine is you have all 32 teams there, everybody there, just about everybody from every organization is going to be there. But that's a little bit diminished if you're at a place like Ohio State, especially in a big draft class like this, where you're going to have all 30.
You got 15 guys going to the combine. You're going to have everybody at your pro day.
You're going to have probably 5 or 6 general managers, 5 or 6 head coaches. I mean, just about, it'll be the biggest pro day in the country this year.
Yeah. And especially with a quarterback.
Especially you have a quarterback in there as well. So there's a lot that obviously is going to go into this. So, yeah, you'll have more or less the same ability to show off in front of everybody at the Woody Hayes.
I think too, though, they shouldn't base it off of just this like one day.
It's just one. It's one data point that they try to use.
And and obviously they've got to take into consideration your performance all year long. I just think, like, what if you're having a bad day? What if you're sick? You know what I mean?
It's a bad day to have a bad day.
Exactly. And I just don't like when you're judged off of that, because there are things that are out of your control. But it's good for the players that might not have been great all season. But then it's like, how did you improve so quickly? I don't mean it like that, but I'm just saying there's that side of it.
You're working out with no pads or anything else on.
But you deserve it. Like, everybody deserves a shot, like, to shine. So
I do know that this is that time of year, the combine, the NFL draft, Nicole, where it's like you've been watching these players now 4 or 5 years, Jack Sawyer, Pickerington for longer than that. I know how much it means to you to see them reach their dreams. So they're well on the process of that now.
And I feel like, especially these Ohio State players, I feel like everybody's already seen all sides, like they've watched them overcome, a bad loss, and they watch them just turn that around. And I think as a coach, that's what I would want to see. Like, how do you handle situations? How do you turn it around and not get stuck in a rut,
Bob, let's hypothetically say everyone was working out. And this is that question we ask every year. Who's got the most to gain? This is a large pool, 15 Buckeyes going there. The easy conversation is to just focus on Will Howard, who I think has dramatically changed his outlook and his draft stock. But where would you be looking if you were thinking there was a draft board riser coming out of Indianapolis?
Excuse me. Well, you talk about Will. I look at guys that maybe were able to show something, or maybe were a little underrated coming into the season, and then through the final 5-6 games, maybe we're able to elevate their stock, and this will give them confirmation. Because to Nicole's point, this is just one day, and it is it's just one of the many data points that how good teams evaluate, and no one falls in love with the combine. But if you see some things that hey, the last 4 or 5 games that we're developing a trend in a positive way, are these attributes ones that we think we were maybe overlooking, or maybe this player improved? Will Howard is one of those guys. Now, as a quarterback, it's tough to really display anything. You're throwing routes on air, for heaven's sake.
Yeah, but they love to fall in love with,
if I go watch somebody do the
flick of the wrist,
Zach Wilson action.
Exactly.
Do the play action, roll out, fading to your left, throwing back across your body. I'm like, okay, that's like having an NBA combine, and all right, dude, we're just gonna have dudes shoot one.
Just shoot fadeaways, please. Yeah.
From
play a game of horse
from 3/4 court. Yeah. It's how often? When are you making that throw?
Yeah,
once a season, maybe. Yeah. Maybe once a career.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Guys don't make those throws. Let's see what they can do. And so it's routes on air. You're throwing the ball. I will maybe to show maybe a little more deep ball accuracy, or things that he perceived to struggle with. I honestly think another guy, as people dig into the film, they start looking at Donovan Jackson. The conversation comes up could he legitimately play right tackle? Is that something? We watched him play left guard. We watched him play left tackle. He was a lot better than maybe people anticipated. I don't think he's an NFL left tackle, but could he be an NFL right tackle? And is that more valuable than guard? and make that argument and that conversation.
Or more valuable because he can do both.
Do both.
Yeah, and do both. I do think Travion, I mean, people know that he has elite speed. I think if he goes out there and runs a 4.3, could he creep into the end of the first round? Maybe.
Anything's possible, guys.
It
It's
is.
draft day.
A lot of these guys, like, too, they're going to be such impressive young men in their
can't wait.
meetings. Like meeting with Emeka. I mean, I know people probably think that, but then you meet with these young men and it's like, wow, these guys are great.
Right.
Great elite human beings.
We'd love to add them to our roster and have them in our locker room.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I think Lathan Ransom's a guy. There's so many guys. Lathan Ransom and Jordan Hancock are two guys that are probably a little underrated. And Lathan, if he runs well, I think that will help. There's probably some questions about his just general top end speed. And Jordan Hancock's a guy that nobody really talks about, but I think he could be one of the real steals of this draft just because his skill set is so unique and his versatility is so high. And he made some plays, but he wasn't, they didn't talk about him like Caleb Downs, and he wasn't that D-line,
Yeah, I think overall, you look at Jordan Hancock, he made more splash plays. He showed up more a year, 2 seasons ago, which is why I thought he might not come back for an extra year at Ohio State. Now I feel like out of everyone they lost, and this will sound crazy, Bob, I don't know if you agree with it or not, like Jordan Hancock might be the single most difficult player to replace on this roster.
Because of his skill set. And it's not that he's the flashiest guy, but he's the toughest guy to replicate. Beyonce had a song about that, I think.
He replaced
I don't know much of her
catalog.
her catalog. But
you're going
I'll take your word for it.
They'll be playing the
to
pop
the left,
culture
to the
music,
left.
Jay-Z.
And that's real because he's a guy that can play deep safety. He played slot corner, nickel. He can play outside corner. I think if you
he was solid everywhere he was
and
at
he's
on
really
the field.
good everywhere. Like he may not be the best at any of those, but if you have a guy that can do all of those things to a high degree, if you're a creative defensive coordinator, it gives you the ability.
And then you go out and you test really well, and they're gonna say, "Man, this kid does all this really well, and he's fast, and he tested really well. Like we love how he was in his meetings." They may take a flyer on.
I think he'll be a 4.4 guy, and he's 6. You think he's over 6 foot?
I think so, yeah.
I mean, I think he's a shade over 6 foot. Like he's got a lot of the attributes that you're looking at. And you're thinking, man, like they don't make a whole lot of guys that are built quite like this.
No, he's pretty special. He's going to be really difficult to replace. Jay-Z, who would you?
Well, I mean, we just talked about a bunch of the guys.
Yeah.
First of all,
Bob did.
Well, yeah. I mean, right off the bat, I was thinking
He's
Trey.
knowledgeable.
I was thinking Trey, maybe just going out and running, really fast, and I mean, just being able to, put those numbers to what we saw on the field. I mean, I don't know who they equate him to in the NFL, but I mean, somebody who is a game changer. He hits that slot and he's gone. So I think he goes out and does really well. He could really help himself, even though I don't know how much he helps himself. Running back is kind of a weird position in the NFL as far as they value it. But I
wonder if Saquon Barkley will change some of that.
Well, I mean, yeah, exactly, right. But so I think he could, have a good showing. And then I know you don't want to talk about it, but I think Will Howard, even though you're throwing on air, even though that, and the other, I think he's going to go run pretty well for how big he is, his measurables.
22 miles an hour, Jay-Z.
Yeah, as long as he just stops tripping over the white lines, I mean.
I hope he runs a 40.
I thought we turned that off, Nicole.
I thought I did too. All my reminders of all the things that need to happen in life.
But I bet he runs, what, a 4.6?
Yeah,
something, I mean, at his size, that's plenty good enough.
If he makes it, if he finishes.
And if he finishes it, if he falls,
That's
falls on the 40,
he's so good.
That's going to be a red flag, and this guy can't stop tripping over himself.
But I think too, for them to overall look, I mean, I see both sides of the combine. If somebody has a bad workout, I mean, hopefully they take into consideration the rest of their performance all year long. But I also like it for the fact that there are some guys that can shine too that maybe got overlooked. Because here's the thing, the greatest, like for Will, I think they also are going to look at how he came in and only played with these guys for one season and was able to adapt to a team that he wasn't used to playing with and was a leader and had the pressure of Buckeye Nation on his shoulders. And, that's a lot.
And seemingly got better.
And
I mean, he was already a really good player coming out of Kansas State, but I mean, I think he elevated his play. To your point, only being here for so much time, only being able to learn the offense, having a limited time to do that, the NFL's going to say, all right, this kid picks up offenses pretty well. He's coachable. You can get after him a little bit. He was coached very hard by Ryan Day when he was here, and we saw that translate to the field. And he did basically everything right.
Yep.
I mean, except for a handful of throws throughout the season. he was pretty spot on. So I think he goes out and has a great day at pro day, and he'll be thrown to a Mecca, and probably some of the younger guys are going to get out there.
They'll probably let Jeremiah Smith run around.
Yeah, let those guys get routes
for him. Yeah.
So he's gonna be familiar with those guys, and they're gonna have that all nailed down. And I think he'll probably come out looking pretty good. I wouldn't be surprised if you see him kind of creep into the first round, early second day. I mean,
I can't wait, you guys.
I think
I
he is.
love draft day. It's like my favorite day of the year. It's one of my favorite days of the year.
You just care about who the Texans are going to take.
I like that, but I also like to see these guys because we follow them, their entire career at Ohio State. And I also just want to bring up that I think it's incredible that our coaching staff, it speaks very highly of them for like Will's sake and all the guys that are going into the draft, that they continue to learn, because that shows you have a great teacher, a great leader, a great coach. And I think we need to remember that sometimes when we have losses or whatever, but for these kids to continue to grow is, I don't know, I think it's very admirable and I love it.
You know what else we have to remember, Bob? That Appetizers
delicious.
is one day away. And this week, what do we have?
Oh, the mini corn dogs. For all those lovers of the corn dog that have a wood allergy out there, this is the solution.
Roosters has
for
solved
you.
it.
They have solved it.
It's a bite-sized corn dog you can eat with your hands. You don't even eat the stick, and you dip in that delicious
Yeah, you can dip it in a lot of
Dipping
things.
sauce.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, the
$3.
mustard,
Mustard's
I don't
good. I
know.
like mustard.
I'm not
It
a-
is.
Um,
Caleb loves the onion petals. Those are his favorite.
Yeah.
The onion feathers.
You guys,
my
fun
oldest
fact,
is all about these guys.
I mean, those are the best. They're
They
great
really
for kids.
are.
They're great for adults.
These are like a meal in itself.
I know.
Yes.
Yes.
will
And
be-
fun fact, so we're starting our 92.3 WCOL
Ooh, yeah, I
World
saw
Tour
that.
March 14th. And we added 2 breakfast options for those dates. So
Whoa.
it's a special
Hey, now,
menu.
what?
Mini corn dogs.
But they're
Sausage dogs with
Those-
pancake
Sausage
wrap?
and
Those don't even
Pancake
Yep.
wrap? Oh.
I love the
now
sausage
you gotta come.
dogs.
You gotta
Come on.
come
I
to
love
one of the
sausage
tour
dogs.
dates.
I feel like
which
we
you just
need
listed.
a
You guys,
podcast
they
tour.
look, yeah, seriously, they look
Maybe not that
incredible. I
early
was
in the
like,
morning.
those look so good.
We don't
I'm-
record at 5
Yeah.
a.m. So.
The sausage dogs are good.
No,
Oh
that's
my
gonna be.
gosh, you
Put a little
guys.
syrup in that,
Yep,
maybe.
maple
Oh yeah.
syrup
Oh
wrapped in a
gosh.
pancake.
Mm.
I was like, this is
sausage.
the greatest thing ever invented. It's so great.
That's gonna be yummy.
Roosters always changing the game. You can count on them. It's a fun, casual joint. And we're going to let Nicole, she's got her phone just going
Sorry,
crazy.
guys.
Blowing
Busy
up.
week as
Busy,
she heads out for the
busy.
cruise. Hope you have a great time,
Thanks,
Nicole.
guys.
And thanks for having us in here at Roosters. The Henderson location, as Bob said, has been awesome. Hang out here. We're going to take a quick break. Berm is going to be here as we roll along at Roosters with the live show. It's a fun, casual joint.
Roosters has been so fortunate. We just want to be able to give some of that back to the community.
They donate to organizations that are near and dear to their heart, and we're so fortunate to have been with Roosters now for a long time.
They will always go above and beyond to help support our foundation to further help veterans.
It's just a wonderful feeling to know that Roosters supports the Buckeye Cruise for Cancer.
All the folks at Roosters are just genuinely kind folks, and they want to make a difference.
Thank you, Roosters Foundation.
Thank you, Roosters.
Thank you, Roosters.
Thank you, Roosters Foundation.
Welcome back into Roosters. Berm is here.
Hello.
Hey, Berm.
Hello.
Hey, who
I
are
got
you-
like the worst night's sleep I've
Oh,
ever had.
really?
Ooh.
How is that possible?
I don't know. I went to bed at like 12. I
Ugh.
read a little bit, and then I could
What were
not.
you reading?
I'm reading a Stephen King book. I'm
Well, that's
Well,
why
maybe
you.
that's
That's
part of the
why you
problem,
couldn't sleep.
I always
Stephen
read
King.
Stephen King.
You're a weirdo.
it's
You
not-
always read
And then-
Stephen King.
yeah,
That helped you fall
for
asleep?
like his entire catalog.
Scaring the pants off yourself
Is
before
he still
you get...
writing new stuff?
Most of the stuff he writes
Mostly on
anymore is
Twitter, right?
Pretty garbage, honestly, because he's like let the world infiltrate his brain. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of just.
Aren't we
Man.
all the sum of our lived
yeah.
experiences?
No, I don't think so.
Oh.
Because I think he's lived in a box for the last 15 years. But
That sounds like a good
and then
book.
I laid there for like 3 hours and could not fall asleep. And then I looked at and then
Really
I
reading
woke
The
up.
Stand?
No, I'm reading. It's called Desperation.
No, it sounds great.
Pet Cemetery.
Keep alone.
Whatever.
Did
Anyway,
you read Storm of the Century?
no, I didn't see that movie.
Why are you up till midnight on a Sunday night? I was in bed at 8:30 last night.
Look at Bird.
8:30.
8:30.
We were watching 90 Day Fiance
What?
because that's what we watch every Sunday night.
A lot of people in
Oh
that
my
Venn
gosh.
diagram of 90 Day Fiance and Stephen King before
And then
bed.
we watched.
Is that that guy with the no neck?
Well, no, that's Ed. He was on a different season.
I
He's
just.
not on
Oh,
the same
okay.
season. And then we watched the first episode of Reacher season 3 on it.
Is that
Ooh,
good?
how's that one?
It was
I
pretty
do
good-
like
good
Reacher.
episode. I mean, I'm a big fan of the first 2 seasons.
Yes,
Yeah.
they were good. I
and
did see
then,
those.
And then it was midnight.
Okay.
Jeez.
That's what happens.
That is. I'll tell Court because we watch Reacher together.
The
That's-
Reacher's a legit show.
My wife watches a lot of garbage TV, so
Are you considering 90 Day Fiance garbage TV?
she wouldn't watch that.
I think that's probably
way
garbage
beneath
too.
her.
Well, tonight is Monday night is 90 Day Fiance: The Last Resort. So it's like a
It's either
therapy.
do or die.
And then of course
Last
Wednesday,
The last resort.
and then of course Wednesday is Married at First Sight, and then Thursday is Southern Charm.
So what do they get
you
engaged?
really have
for,
to have.
They get engaged for 90 days and see if it works.
Well, no, they only have 90 days to get married. It's called a K-1 visa when you bring someone into
Oh,
the
yeah.
country.
Ah.
And so anyway,
Okay.
it's been a busy weekend.
Yeah. Geez.
Is what it comes down to. We just did a lot. Went to a walleye game, watched the Fish win in OT.
What? Oh, is that Toledo hockey?
Yeah, that's right. T-Town hockey.
T-Town.
Anyway,
The walleye, baby. Let's
Football.
go. Are they pretty good?
what are you guys talking about? Football? Are we talking?
We were
about
talking about the combine, bro.
Can we talk about basketball? No.
No, not to. Please.
Why on earth would we do that?
I don't know.
The women almost scored 100 points yesterday. Let's
Oh,
talk
let-
about them.
I mean, I'll ask you this then, Berm, if you want to talk about
That was
it.
the worst.
Men
Why-
scored about half that.
Why is it
Yeah, exactly.
you actually care about Ohio State basketball more than any human possibly should?
Probably.
You and I have also had this conversation for a dozen years.
Yeah.
I don't understand why the standard is not the standard for Ohio State basketball.
I don't know.
Because it's a football school.
It's been 12 years since Ohio State has won a Big Ten title. It's been
Ohio State's played in more Big Ten title games than any other school. though.
Hey.
okay, but it's been 12 years since they won one. It's going to be 3 straight years without making the NCAA tournament.
Why?
It-
That's not done yet.
Yeah, I mean, we could
They're
still
not
go on
gonna
a
make the
run
10.
here. We got
It's-
what?
I'm just okay.
3 or 4
It's
games
done.
to go.
You're
My
telling me
goodness.
that is a certainty. I'm telling
I'm
you.
not telling.
that's-
It's obviously not a certainty. It
Okay.
doesn't feel good when you
It doesn't.
when you shoot 30% back-to-back games, and then you
I
stay
get
in
it.
California, and then you're gonna have to play USC this week, and then you're still doing it without, Bradshaw. You're still doing it. The team is just.
By the way, I'm
it's
done with-
disheveled.
Don't give me this flu nonsense, dude. Like I don't
Jordan,
wanna hear about that.
Jordan played in a finals
Exactly.
game.
I think that there is a question to be asked about
Did you
whether
hear-
or not
did you hear Rick
NIL should be paid before someone plays or after.
Well, I mean, I think it's like a monthly thing is what they do. I don't
'Cause,
think it's like a.
Boy, I would
a
like
lump
to see
sum.
some of these contracts of the
Well,
basketball
I think
guys.
some of them, if the guys aren't playing, I don't think those contracts are being honored.
Sure would hope so.
I am fairly certain with that. But I mean, did you hear Rick Pitino's halftime speech?
Yes. We need more of
I
it.
mean, where the hell are you guys from?
Yes.
Like, what are you about? I mean,
Yeah.
like,
Well,
That's
if
what
I have
I'm
one,
talking
if I
about.
have one complaint,
Rick is a bad dude, but a
I-
good coach.
I really like
Two
Jake
things can
Diebler.
coexist.
Yeah.
I really like Jake Diebler. Like he's a
Good, great human being.
I'm not even going to say
I
he's
love
the wrong guy for the job. I'm not,
Yeah.
but I do wonder sometimes about, is it a smart decision to hire from within of a staff that got fired? Like that seems
I think it's
Weird.
pretty unusual to take that approach.
right. It's weird. And then you couple that with the fact that he's a first-time head coach, and
Okay.
you are learning on the fly, and the program itself was not in a great position when you took over.
When was
if
the
you-
last time it was in a great position?
I mean, you have to go back to 2013, 2014.
Right.
It's been a while. So I mean, but if my biggest complaint about last week specifically, the loss to Northwestern and then this loss to UCLA on Sunday, is that I didn't see Jake Diebler on Thursday night after the team laid an unbelievably embarrassing egg against Northwestern.
I think you called
At
it
home, right?
inexcusable.
It's inexcusable. You can't do that. I mean,
That was bad.
you
They were 0-8 on the road in conference,
And they came and got us.
and I
came and got us.
Didn't just
They-
win; they
they-
blew out the ball.
They grabbed you, tied you to the back of the car, and
it was
drug
as
you
though the
around.
Drug you
Ohio State
around.
had never seen a team pass the basketball before and had no idea what to do.
It was
But,
bad.
for Diebler not to come out right after that game and in this press conference be demonstrative and say this is not acceptable basketball, I just wanted something more in that moment. And I know he's learning, but
So you wanted him to. Well, maybe he did.
I needed him to Rick Pitino it up in that moment.
Maybe he did in the locker room.
And maybe he did in the locker room.
Yeah, but I want to see it publicly because it's the people who were in that building and the people who they're begging to come to games that are at that game and going,
Yeah.
what are we watching and why are we here?
Oh, yeah, I turned it off. I stopped watching that.
I turned it off and
I want to
started
get my
watching
mind
hockey.
right for hockey.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was gross, and I felt like there was a missed opportunity for Jake Diebler to set a tone for the fans, which I think are the most important thing, because this basketball team needs fan support, and they, at this point, aren't playing well enough to get it. But then when he doesn't come out and take ownership of what happened in the last week, I think that's telling of someone who's really young. But anyway, let's talk about football.
Okay, so
That's what the people are here for.
Football.
are you going to miss that we're not going to the combine this week?
No, I hate the
No
combine.
combine for you guys?
It's
No.
stupid. The combine
What?
is a waste
You
of our
guys should
time.
definitely be over there.
Why?
To cover it. We got 15 guys going.
They don't play for Ohio State anymore.
You guys should be over there just grinding away in Indianapolis.
And look, we've also been there enough times where we go to talk to some Ohio State players. They don't participate in the interview session. They don't work out. And that's fine. I don't think they should. And we shouldn't be there because they're preparing for the NFL draft, and we cover the college football Buckeyes. I'm happy to talk about their performances if it's good.
We're still Ohio State Buckeyes for life.
And I'm going to say that, like, Will Howard's rising up the draft board and Donovan Jackson should be a first-round pick. I'm going to talk about everything they do there. But I don't have to specifically be there to help produce content for the NFL Network.
Yeah.
Which they have turned that into.
And how many times can someone be asked, have you heard from the Jets? Have you heard from the? It's just
that's my true biggest.
It's just the dumbest. It's dumb coverage. It's not worth it. Anyway, but
all right, well,
you guys.
You only went twice. I went a dozen times.
I hated it every single second of it. It was awful.
It was awful. It's a who's who of everybody in football.
Yeah,
man.
I mean, yeah.
You go there for the networking, the socialization.
Did you shoot when you go there? Like,
no, I mean, we don't have
You're
field
not allowed?
access.
Yeah,
We're not allowed to do that.
You're not allowed to do any of the stuff that actually makes the
too
job
old.
cool.
Oh, you're not
They're
allowed?
too, those guys were too old.
Photographers on the field?
No, I mean, not unless you're NFL credentialed, and it's not.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's probably not easy to do.
They didn't even used to let the media go into Lucas Oil to watch the workouts
until they started selling tickets.
Until they started selling tickets, and like, well, we'll cordon off this area.
Now you're allowed.
You kind of have to now.
Now you're
letting
up
fans in.
You're up in the club deck. It's not worth it. But whatever.
Yeah.
It is worth. I mean, obviously, it's a big moment for these guys. I think that they're, with 15 Ohio State players there, it's a good representation for the Buckeyes.
Robust.
It's a robust turnout for sure. I do think that it's a weekend that has a lot of opportunity for guys. I think Jordan Hancock is one you brought up. I would imagine we'll see him do some stuff. The questions about his speed are going to be there the same as they were with Lathan, even though I don't think they should be because Jordan's pretty darn quick.
Yeah, Jordan's played outside corner.
But I don't think we ever really got to see it on display in college, like how fast he is.
Yeah.
And I think for me, the biggest person that I'm like waiting to see how he represents is Donovan Jackson, because the other two that I'm really interested in are Seth McLaughlin and
Simmons,
Josh Simmons, and neither one of them are going to be able to participate.
So Josh is going to do a lot. I think he's doing the full thing at Pro Day.
Is he?
Is he back?
Yes.
Yeah, not this week.
What do you have, an ACL, right?
Yeah. No, patellar tendon. I would say it's worse.
Yeah, okay.
But I think he's going to be able to do a lot or most of.
I mean, at that point, it's been 7 months. I mean,
it's not your knee, so it's
get over it. It's
no big deal.
Everybody's like,
it's been 7 months.
It's been
get out
time.
there. Let's go.
This isn't. We're not cooking noodles, dude.
And they said 6 to 8. You weren't back in 6. What is this about?
When you cook noodles, are you more al dente or are you? I tend to overcook the noodle a touch.
That's gross.
On purpose?
Yeah, like
I
like a slightly overcooked noodle.
Okay.
Just saying.
Great.
Today's the day we're learning about berm. Homer berm, learning about noodles.
A positive berm.
Cooking noodles, reading Stephen King.
Yeah, man.
We are learning a lot about you. Who do you think is the most
I feel like I've already known this. This kind of just explains his behavior.
It just explains a little bit about Berm.
The fact that he reads Stephen King novels
to go to bed.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think anything he has said would have surprised.
I've read him for years and years.
And like I said, that should not have been a surprise to me. It's not like you woke up at 40 years old and started doing that. It's something I felt like has been in your life for a number of years.
Yes.
So if you have 15 Buckeyes at the Combine, and you could only pick one, who is Jordan Hancock the most irreplaceable member of the Buckeyes for you, or where else would you look?
I don't. Who's irreplaceable? Is hard. It's hard.
We used that word earlier because Bob was quoting Beyonce. I think Ohio State can replace all of them.
I think.
Now, will they match the production? I don't know.
If you look at what he provided Ohio State in this past year, in the last 2 years specifically, what he allowed the defense to do, even when Lathan was off the field at the end of 23, I think Jordan Hancock has a pretty strong argument for being that guy. And you have to go back to Sean Wade in 2020 to say, like, has there been one player on the defense that really allowed them to do what they wanted? And I think that Jordan Hancock is the guy who gave you the opportunity to do whatever you wanted on defense.
That was like 2019 Sean Wade.
Yeah, but I mean,
I don't think 2020 Sean Wade allowed them to do that.
2020 doesn't count because it didn't exist.
But they were also
COVID.
limited themselves in some ways, in my opinion, by saying, well, Shaun Wade wants to come back and be an outside corner and not play the role where he was actually really, really good.
So what I said was in 2020 when they didn't have Shaun Wade playing where he should have played.
Okay, gotcha.
That was the last time we've seen an impact of one player.
My mistake, Berm.
Yeah,
Sorry.
You didn't hear what I said in my head correctly. But other than Jordan, I don't even know who really that conversation could be. Except, I mean, I guess like I've always been more like Travion Henderson positive than most people because I've always thought that we didn't see him healthy for the first or like last 2.5 years.
Probably sophomore year and part of his year.
What he did for Ohio State this year was going to be pretty hard to replace. It's like the home run threat, B, the ability to be a physical pass blocker and be a guy in the leadership quality off the field. Like I just think that those two are probably the only ones in that conversation for me. Not even Emeka.
Yeah, well, I mean, Ohio State has so many wide receivers. We just expect
we're going to miss Emeka, but yes.
That's the thing. You just know the next one's coming along. They lose Marvin Harrison, and then, well, here comes Jeremiah Smith off the assembly line. And I think the same thing can happen with Emeka gone, is that you turn to Brandon Ennis for a larger role, and guess what? You have Mylan Graham popping out of the woodwork and everybody talking about the way he's been in practice. And wide receivers, you just know that's going to be fine. I think losing both Donovan Jackson and Josh Simmons at the same time is a lot to handle. Now, they went into the portal to do that, but
at least you had a little bit of runway to figure out what it was like without Josh Simmons. And so, it's unfortunate because you're still losing both starting tackles, and then now, all three starting tackles, all four starting tackles, all four tackles that started.
A stackle of tackles.
A stackle. They're all gone.
Yeah, that's wild.
So, that's unfortunate. And we had this conversation on the podcast daily last week, but there was an argument to be made that Ohio State had the two best offensive tackles the two best left tackles in college football this past year. When you think about what you had with Josh Simmons in the first six and what you had with Donovan with the last six, I think you have an argument that the two best left tackles in the sport played at Ohio State. So that's hard to replace. But Ethan Anianwa and Phillip Daniels are a good starting point. But Donovan's hard to replace too, but I don't know. I think that's just the versatility.
I was thinking when we were talking about guys at the combine and impressing Bob, we didn't mention Cody Simon. I don't know what he would do, what he needs to do physically.
Aren't you legally obligated to mention Cody Simon?
Well, he was my guy after I meandered and stumbled on Jordan Hancock.
Yeah.
Cody was the next guy because he's I put Cody and Layton in the same bucket. They're both going to be wildly impressive in the interviews because they're incredibly intelligent and they're elite young men. Both of them, I think, are good athletes. The question will be about like high-end, top-end speed on them.
I think Cody's a far better athlete than anyone in the NFL is aware of.
Yeah. It's just literally, I think the question is probably like high-end, long-range speed.
Let me
ask
you,
how much do you need that as a linebacker versus great agility and power and strength? Like he's got a lot of stuff.
I bet he's under 4.5 or right at 4.5.
40?
Yeah.
Cody?
Yeah.
I think that would do a lot for him
if he is. He's going to be around there. And he's taller than people think.
Yeah.
And he's a much more – I wanted to –
You didn't get an actual agreement of
Yeah, I'm going to veer off here. I want to –
That's okay.
When you talk about
Keep in mind I run with these guys.
Yeah. Well, you run like a 4.3, right?
Not at 42.
You run a 4.2?
No, not at
Unbelievable.
40, not at 42.
When you talk about Cody, and again, people not maybe understanding the athleticism, is that just a byproduct of the defense not letting him do freaky things? Because the defense requires the linebackers to play so disciplined and not free?
Well, they don't ever have those guys play man. I mean, I told James it's the greatest ruse ever. I could play linebacker in this defense. You don't have to cover tight end. I'm like, you kidding me? Like, it's all like 2 over 1 on the back. I mean, like the safeties, it's Lathan and freaking Caleb and
Jordan.
And Jordan had to do all the work. I'm like, these guys, I mean, if you're not covering 6, 7 tight ends running down the seam, I mean, this is a lot easier.
But from a recruiting standpoint, part of the pushback Ohio State got, even after having the country's best defense last year, was that there are people around the country who are telling linebacker recruits, well, at Ohio State, you're not going to get a chance to show your athleticism as a linebacker.
Or you get a chance to do exactly what you want, which is the best stuff.
But you learn how to play linebacker.
Make tackles and blitz and compete for a championship. Sounds like a triple crown to me.
But from a freak athletic NFL standpoint, do you think that like maybe some of the conversations are not there for Cody because he didn't get to
only
put that on
played
display?
1 year too.
It was 16 games. It's basically 2 years.
I get it.
Close.
He played, by the way, the guy was the defensive MVP of both the Rose Bowl and the national championship game. So, like, your so-called lack of production or, quote, doing freaky things, I'm not sure where this is grounded in.
It's recruiting. People lie all the time.
I get that. They can lie and say whatever they want. Just tell those other
the eye in the sky
Just
don't
cut
lie.
That,
That's
cut
what
that tape
doesn't
on
lie.
to quote Jeff Okuda at the Combine. Not
Cut
sure
that
what you're
tape.
watching. Cut the tape on.
Exactly. As people make up things. Like they build a narrative into their question as if it's a fact.
Yeah.
A statement of fact. And then I'm glad Jeff's like,
That was my favorite one because that is one of the frustrations of being at the Combine and there's not anyone calling on you. It's just a gaggle of people out there, and this guy's deciding, hey, Jeff Okuda, your biggest weakness was you got penalized a ton in Ohio State. I had one penalty in my career. Cut that tape back on.
yeah.
Like, why do we have to
What's
listen
your
to
name,
that
buddy?
nonsense?
Where are you from?
Who
What
are
outlet?
you?
Exactly.
This
Like,
is that
there
time
should
of
be
year,
s-
though.
There should be some accountability. If you're going to build a false narrative into a question and ask me to respond to that, like when I shoot you down, I want you to be embarrassed about your lack of preparation for what you were doing.
They
I mean,
don't
that's-
feel that shame.
That's something that you
I
feel like
would
you would
stand
have to
up.
have some ammo
Come up
for.
here, stand beside me.
Yeah,
Everybody
it's
take a picture of this liar. Now go sit down.
Perfect.
What was the Combine like when you were there?
I don't remember doing like this media stuff though. I went and met with a lot of coaches. I mean, I didn't do the Senior Bowl because I had my broken ankle, and I had a ton of red flags for personality issues that,
No.
unbeknownst to me,
You?
whatever.
What?
That's
They
real.
heard he was reading Stephen King at night.
They heard I like to draw dicks on the whiteboard, and so that's
All over the Woody Hayes, you mean?
all over the Woody Hayes. So that disqualified me. The Bengals, who would draft dudes who would pipe somebody, said that I was a red flag on a
we can take
character.
Pac-
we can take
That's a
Pac-Man
real
Jones or
story.
we can take Bobby
But-
Carpenter.
right?
I don't know.
My agent goes, what did the Cincinnati, like, why? I'm like, I mean, I think part of it was because John Cooper was here and, like, they asked him, and he's like, wow, he's kind of hard to handle and hard to control. And it's like, dude, you're going to like, bring in Chris Henry and dudes like this? And, I mean, like, God bless him. I mean, R.I.P., and we're bringing in his son, so that's tremendous. But, I mean,
Yeah, where's your son, Bob?
the Bengals were bringing in dudes who, like,
Bob
were
drew too
at
many.
multiple arrests, all kinds of issues, and you're going to tell me like I've got problems.
He just
like,
wanted to get in the cold tub. He knocked the door down.
And what's funny is like
I
exactly.
mean, that's all.
Because we had
Taking care of
He's
his
trying to
body.
recover.
we had people exactly.
Yes.
Someone who was willing to do whatever it takes to contribute to the team.
A
Yes.
wild card with shankability.
Yes.
So in
He may yell at the coach coming off the field, but
He may read the newspaper during the spring game.
so
Don't
the
waste
but
my
he's a
time.
good
Just
football
don't waste
player.
my time.
so the genitalia artists in Ohio State football history in the last 20 years are you and Corey Smith.
oh, there's I
there's
mean,
way
he
more
had a
than
couple
that.
other
There's way
cohorts
more than
back
Just saying.
There's
back in
way
the
more
day.
than that. We used to do a lot of stuff. I mean, I went in like so. There were some people that like would address like, why do they think that you're hard to coach? Why do we hear this? I'm like, I don't know. You know, like Saban never thought. He's like, I heard about this shit. You know, he'd go into. He's like, you're gonna be fine. I'm like, all right, that's good. I mean, I'm sitting here talking to you. What do you want me to draw up, bud? Let's draw it
Let's
up.
talk
I mean,
some football.
Yeah, it was funny because
Did anybody request you?
AJ told the story.
We check your artistic
Hey,
talent.
Yeah.
no, so Scott Pioli goes, hey, why don't you go up on the board for me? He's like, I'm like, all right, I'm waiting to draw up some defensive, you know, you want to even front.
Draw
off,
whatever
front,
comes to mind.
whatever. And he's like,
A rocket ship.
draw up
USA.
draw up some of those some of the special pictures I heard so much about. I'm like, you serious? And he's like, yeah, the ones that don't make it on, the ones you used to draw on the back of your papers that Fickle used to talk about. And then AJ told me, when I met with the Lions, Matt Millen wasn't in there, but AJ told me I would have to draw you this picture. Matt Millen's son he's around our age, and I think he went to West Point. And he was in the military, and Millen said, he brought it up with AJ, and AJ was like, I didn't know how to kind of handle it. And then he goes, look at this, and he pulls out a paper that his son had drawn on there, and it was a hat that it was like, he called him Davy Cockett, and it was like a coonskin cap, but the top of it was like a phallic symbol.
boy.
And he goes, these are all over my office. And I'm like, he goes, I don't care about that stuff. He's like, whatever.
If you're good at something, never do it for free.
And so, I mean,
they did it for free
like,
money.
the real people, I mean, I say the real organizations that actually did research, it was like, hey, dude, what do you want me to know? Like, I can play inside, outside. I can tell you about all this stuff. If you wonder why I messed around and read the paper in meetings, so I'm listening to Fick explain to the same guy that we have from the program who probably shouldn't be here because he can barely read and write, and explain to him how to play the same defense over and over again. What do you want me to do? It's not my job. I'm not getting paid to coach the guy.
You needed AP linebacker. Classic.
I mean, that's like seriously, it's such a fic. Then I think the subsequent year he did it a little bit with us, but he would make the seniors coach the spring ball. And he's like, yeah, get a taste of my job. I'm like, well, I'm not getting paid to do this. So why should I have to teach these guys? You're the one that decided to bring them in. So you're the one that has to deal with them.
Well, now they can't. They can't build that into their contract. You are getting paid to coach the young guys. Go do that.
But it was, so I don't even know what you asked about.
I'm just wondering,
that was the great, whatever he asked, it was the best combine story that we could have possibly asked.
I just wanted to know, like, because now with social media and 24-hour news, like I assume it's different than it was when you were there.
So this is real life too. First of all, best story ever. In the middle of they call it the train station in there in Indy, they have a pool because it's a hotel and it's like kind of a Holiday Inn type deal, or like the Holiday Inns. You have the pool in the middle. Everyone looked around it. I never forget. There's this dude walking. He's talking. They're like, they come and like get you and take you from room to room. It's like speed dating, like every 20 minutes. And this dude is walking from one, like talking back to the people as he's being led to another room. And the guy's like, come on, trying to turn him. And the dude walks right into the pool, full suit on, bag on his shoulder, middle of the meeting. So he had to go sit there soaked in the next meeting with that. And then the Dallas Cowboys, I met with them. And Parcells wasn't there because he didn't want anyone else to know that I guess he was going to take me. And so we're sitting there and they grill me about everything. And then I'm like, all right. And they're like, hey, the meeting portion ended. It was from like 7 to 10, I think, maybe 8 to 11. And they're like, meet us back here at 11 o'clock. Which you're not allowed to do. Like, it's over, it's done.
Meet us on the 9th green.
So
I literally go.
Like, what am I doing here?
He's like, don't tell anybody else. He's like, I want you telling Belichick. And he's like, yeah. So I went and like knocked on the door, like pulled the thing aside, like opened it up. I felt like man, I'm gonna get like arrested for doing. Like I didn't know what was going on. And then they went in and grilled me even more about this stuff and everything that went on, all the stuff that we talked about. And then they're like, all right, draw this stuff up. I'm like, okay. And like Bill wasn't here because he didn't want to draw attention to him. Like, okay, all right, that's fine. I don't know what you want me to do. Am I supposed to sneak out of here now? I'm not supposed
Am I
to be
sleeping here?
Well, like,
when's curfew?
I'm not supposed to be out of my room. Yeah. Like, how am I supposed
Can
to?
somebody escort me back to my room? So
when I get busted, you guys are still going to draft me, right? Because I wasn't where I was supposed to be. Yeah. I was like kind of scary. I was like nervous about what was going on.
Well, Jerry Jones like those
bad boys.
No, I go in there and freaking. Oh gosh, Mangini, he has like a montage, the low light tape of like my 10 worst plays in college. And I remember Santonio was walking after me. I'm like, hey, it wasn't Santonio. I saw, who was it? Oh, Dante Whitner, because DBs are after us. I was like, dude, I told all the DBs, like, if you meet with the Jets, be prepared to defend your worst plays. Like, and you've got to eat some of them. But I'm like, you just know going in there. Because some would be intermixed, some would have your good plays. Theirs was the worst. They spent time like worst,
the top
worst
10
plays.
Worst plays of your college career.
Worst plays. Like you might be running, get cut, like fall down. I mean, it's just worst stuff ever. Well, I fell down there. Obviously, it was a terribly unathletic play. What else do you want me to tell you?
Guess that puts a new.
I'm sorry. I jumped the load. They threw the high behind me. They'd thrown 3 of them in a row. We're up by 21. I thought I could get a pick. It was a poor decision by me. Yes. Okay.
Have you heard from the Jets? Puts it in a new light.
Yeah.
There you go.
Those were some great combine stories. Thank you, Bob. And thank you for telling all the people who have a wood allergy that they have a solution from Roosters.
They're delicious. They're tasty. And they're $3.
$3.
Mini corn dogs.
Get in, get you some.
On Appetizer Thursday. You guys have a fantastic time on the cruise. Great cause. Great week. I know you guys are giving a lot back, so you get a little vacation along with a worthy cause. So enjoy that. We'll miss you next week. Berm and I will be back. We'll figure out someone to be on the show, although most of the panelists are also going to be on the boat with you. So we'll figure out some solution. But thanks to Justin Zwick and Bobby Carpenter for swinging by in here. Thanks to Jeremy Birmingham. And thanks to Nicole Cox and the whole team at Roosters on Henderson, which, as Bob and I can attest, one of the best staff in America. Thanks for joining us for the live show at Roosters. It's a fun, casual joint. We'll see you next time.